There will always be calculation questions in the wiring regulations exam, and I've often been asked if there are certain formulas that students should learn to use. In this video, we will look at 3 essential formulas and demonstrate their use with questions and fully worked answers. Some of the more frequent requests have included, I've heard that there are 3 calculations that I should learn for the exam. Why are some formulas difficult to understand? And my calculator skills are not that good. Can you help? So let's get started. First of all, let's consider the book that we will use. It's BS7671 18th edition, amendment number 2, the Brown book, and the only book used in this video. And this is the only book allowed in the exam, so make yourself familiar with it before your exam day. Where calculations are required in the exam, it is usual for the relevant data to be given in the question. Your job is to find the correct formula, to enter the data supplied, and to make the calculation before making your choice. After all, you only have 2 minutes to do this. You will not normally be expected to work your way through the book looking for charts and tables for the data unless specifically asked to in the question. All the numbers will be provided for you. Just make the correct calculation. First of all, let's look at the question of calculator skills. You don't need a scientific calculator or anything fancy. A cheap, basic calculator from any stationer's will do. Squaring numbers is very easy. Any number squared is just that number multiplied by itself. So 4 squared is the same as 4 multiplied by 4, which is 16. And 6 squared is the same as 6 multiplied by 6, an answer of 36. Some calculators have a square button, x squared. Some don't. But it's not needed now, as we now know what a square is. Then there is the square root, and you will need a calculator for these. Most cheap, basic calculators will have the square root function on them. Look for the square root button. The square root finds the number that can be multiplied by itself to give the original number. So the square root of 9 is 3, since 3 multiplied by 3 is 9. And the square root of 25 is 5, because 5 times 5 is 25. Look at this number. The square root of 15129 is 123, because 123 multiplied by 123 is 15129. Try it now. Some calculators expect the square root key to be pressed before the number. Other calculators want the square root key pressed afterwards. Make sure that you know how your calculator works before the exam. Practice now with these numbers in the table below. An important tip on calculation order: if there are 2 or more numbers on the bottom row, calculate these first and then divide into the top row. Here we have 20 divided by 0.94 multiplied by 0.725. We should calculate the bottom to arrive at 0.6815 and then divide this into 20. Try it. The correct answer is 29.35. And lastly on this subject, is it a calculation or is it a formula? The naming convention that I follow is: a formula is a mathematical set of instructions to follow, a set of symbols showing the order of calculation. Think of a formula as a written recipe to make a cake, while a calculation is the process of putting the numbers into a calculator in order to find the answer. The calculation part is like the actual mixing of the cake ingredients and putting the cake into the oven. We can begin with the adiabatic equations, where we calculate the minimum size of earth conductor required. The word adiabatic in this sense means that all the heat that is generated in the earth conductor from the fault current stays in the conductor, a closed system. There is no cooling effect by heat being lost into the local environment. There is no heat gained from the outside world. This is the worst case scenario, and if the earth conductor is suitable for the worst case, then it is okay for normal situations where heat will be lost from the cables. On the right, in the blue table, is a brief description of what the symbols mean for these formulas. The adiabatic equation can be transposed or manipulated to give two different formulas. One for the time, how many seconds will it take for a certain size earth conductor with a certain number of amps of fault current to reach 70 degrees Celsius, for example. And the other formula for size, what minimum size earth conductor will not exceed 70 degrees Celsius in the given time with the stated number of amps of fault current flowing through it. The first question then is on time. We must calculate the time it takes for a copper earth conductor in thermoplastic PVC insulation to reach its limiting temperature of 70 degrees Celsius if it is part of a final circuit with a disconnection time of 0.4 seconds. We are given the data for the calculation, and K equals 115, S is 4 square millimeters, and I is 650 amps. What then is T for time? And we are given 4 choices. Select an answer. In order to help you and to make you familiar with them, we've provided the formula, but you will not be given the formula to use in the actual exam. Now is the time to learn where to find the formula in the book, and this one is on page 98. There are 3 steps to this. Calculate the top row and write the answer down. Calculate the bottom row and write it down. Then divide the top by the bottom. So we have 115 times 115 times 4 times 4 is 211,600, and 650 times 650 is 422,500. Now divide 211,600 by 422,500 and your answer should be very close to 0.5 seconds. B should be your answer choice, 0.5 seconds when rounded. The conductor will reach its limiting temperature in 0.5 seconds, but that will not happen. The breaker or fuse will trip before the conductor reaches 70 degrees Celsius. Next question. This time we'll use the adiabatic equation for size. What minimum size CSA should an earth conductor be in order to carry a fault current of 750 amps safely? The cable is 70 degrees Celsius thermoplastic PVC with a K factor of 115. This is a final circuit, so assume a disconnection time of 0.4 seconds. Use the following data. K is 115, T is 0.4 seconds, and I is 750 amps. Select an answer from the 4 choices below. These are all standard conductor sizes that we use daily. Again, we've supplied the formula, and you will find this on page 199. We now have a square root to consider. Calculate I squared times T first, and then square root it, and finally divide by K. So, step 1, 750 multiplied by 750 multiplied by 0.4 is 225,000. Step 2 is the square root of 225,000, which is 474.34. And in step 3, we divide 474.34 by 115 to give an answer of 4.12 square millimeters. Now we can choose an answer A, B, C or D. If our calculation is 4.12 square millimeters, are we to choose 4 square millimeter or 6 square millimeter? After all, it's only just over the 4 millimeters and copper cable is expensive. Don't do it. The answer you choose must be answer C, 6 square millimeters. If the answer is over, always choose the next number above from the choices offered. So answer C it is, 6 square millimeters. Next, we can look at voltage drop. How many volts are lost in the cables, and thus what voltage will be available at the point of use to power the equipment. The Wiring Regs book shows maximum limits for voltage drop on page 430. These are given in percentages of the nominal supply voltage. So, for a 230 volts single-phase supply from the national grid, we have 3% for lighting only circuits and 5% for all other circuits, what we might call power circuits. 3% of 230 volts is 6.9 volts maximum voltage drop for lighting, and 5% a maximum drop of 11.5 volts for all other circuits. The voltage drop formula is not shown in the Wiring Regulations book, but there is a written description to be found in Appendix 4, and this will be found on page 429, Appendix 4, Section 6, Paragraph 3, as shown. But we need to see a formula. This is the formula shown here in the pink box. It tells us that the actual voltage drop is equal to the millivolts per amp per meter value multiplied by the design current multiplied by the length of the circuit and all divided by 1000. And the blue box gives a description of the symbols. A question on voltage drop then. Calculate the voltage drop in a 230 volt domestic water heater cable given the following data. The MVAM number is 18. IB, the design current, is 20 amps and the length of the circuit is 30 meters. Again, the formula is provided for you, but you will not be given the formula in the question. You must remember it. This is a very easy calculation, as shown. The calculation gives an answer of 10.8 volts and answer choice D. This is a 230 volt power circuit, in other words, non-lighting. The voltage drop is acceptable as 11.5 volts is the maximum. If this was a lighting circuit, it would not be acceptable as the maximum permitted is 6.9 volts. Moving on, the third essential formula is rating factors or C factors for cable size. A cable that is affected by factors such as air temperature above the normal, grouped with other cables, or in thermal insulation, may need to have its size or cross-sectional area increased. These factors will affect the ability of the cable to stay within its temperature limit of 70 degrees Celsius for PVC thermoplastic cables, for example. For the same current, by increasing the size of the copper conductor, we can reduce the rate of heating to ensure that the cable stays within limits. The formula allows us to select a larger conductor size, one that has a higher current rating that will offset the negative effects of the factors affecting the cable. Note that although the cable current carrying capacity has increased, the actual current of the circuit does not change, just the cable size. This analogy might help. A little old lady is struggling to carry her basket of shopping in the supermarket, even with two hands. An 18-stone bodybuilder sees her struggling and offers to carry the basket for her with one hand. The contents of the shopping basket have not changed, just the size of the person carrying it. The actual current of the circuit does not change, just the cable size. This is the formula that we will use. IT is the tabulated cross-sectional area of the conductor that is needed, and IN is the rating of the fuse or breaker. The four C factors shown are the most often applied factors, and these are the usual factors that are included in the exams. The formula tells us that IT must be equal to or greater than IN divided by the C factors. Page 425 shows several permutations of the formula, but don't panic, the exam will not expect you to tackle anything more complicated than the formula shown on the right. The green box shows the symbols and descriptions of these 4 factors. On to a question now. Calculate IT for a circuit that is protected by a 20 amp circuit breaker and is in an ambient air temperature of 40 degrees Celsius. Assume that CA is 0.87. Select the minimum value for IT from the choices below. The exam question will normally give you the data to enter. Your job is to remember where to find the formula and to make the calculation. The red arrow is pointing to the formula. The question only requires one C factor to be applied, which is CA. Therefore, we do not need CG, CI or CF. Some books will suggest that you make those 3 factors a 1, which neutralizes them. But in that case, why include them anyway? I just get rid of them completely if they are not needed. It's the same thing. And so we end up with the much simpler formula of IT must be equal to or greater than IN divided by CA. This is answer choice B. Using the simplified formula in the question, we have 20 divided by 0.87 and an answer of 23 amps. The calculator will give you 22.9885 amps, which rounds up to 23 amps, and some answers will be rounded up to this. This next question uses 2 rating factors. Calculate IT for a circuit that is protected by a 20 amp BS7036 semi-enclosed fuse and is in an ambient air temperature of 35 degrees Celsius. Take CA for air temperature to be 0.94, and this is found in table 4B1 on page 441, and for CF use a fusing factor of 0.725, which is found on page 424. Select the minimum value for IT from the choices below. Again, decide which C factors you need and eliminate the rest. Only CA and CF are mentioned in the question, so ignore CG and CI. We only need CA and CF, so this simplifies the formula. The answer is choice D, 29.35 amps. It must be equal to or greater than 20 divided by 0.94 multiplied by 0.725. Remember to calculate the bottom row first and then divide this into the top row, otherwise you will end up with the wrong answer, and the exam will often give you wrong calculations as possible answers. There are 3 main formulas that you must understand. Adiabatic equations. The first for time to overheating and the second for size to not overheat. Voltage drop formula, and you must know the voltage drop limits for lighting and power circuits. I would suggest that you practice the voltage drop formula in order to memorize it, as it does not appear in the book. The third formula is rating factors or C factors, and you need to know which factors to include in the formula and which can be left out. Practice these formulas, go over them again, or even make your own values up. I will also put out a video soon with more of these questions, along with the answers, just how they come in the exam. Thank you for watching. I hope that you found this video useful and that it will help with formulas and calculations in your exam. Please subscribe to our channel to get access to all of our videos, and remember to click on notify to be sure of not missing our next video. And don't forget, you can also type in Learn Electrics into the YouTube search bar to go directly to our channel at any time from any computer or smart device. We are always adding new videos to our channel, so don't miss the next one. And once again, thank you for watching, and we hope to see you again very soon.